I caught my sister flirting with my boyfriend a week before her wedding, but I sent the video to her fiancé, who made a speech at the wedding that sent her into a panic. Hi, to begin with, let me just say outright. I hate my sister. I literally hate her with all my heart because she's just a terrible person. She's completely spoiled, cares about no one but herself, and, worst of all, thinks she's entitled to whatever she wants. I can't stand her, and I think everyone in our family is well aware of that. It all started back in high school. The first time she flirted with my prom date, who then told me about it. Since we're close in age, only a year apart, we've always been in competition. Our parents never did anything to discourage it either, probably because they'd lost hope that we'd ever get along after school. Like I said, maybe it's an age thing. There's not enough of a gap between us to avoid the kind of rivalry we had. At least, that's what I think the problem was. We were constantly trying to outdo each other. At first, it was for our parents' affection and attention. Later, it became about our friends at school and eventually boys. No matter what, we were always in competition. Our parents tried to push us to spend time together and bond, but for some reason, we never clicked. I know most siblings eventually grow out of rivalry, but for us, that never happened. I think a lot of it comes down to my sister because, as I said, she's just not a good person and never has been. I remember even as kids, there were times when I tried to put aside our competition and be nice to her, but she always pushed me away. Once I realized this, I decided I wasn't going to try to be friends with her anymore, as she made it very clear she would never get along with me and would always try to complicate my life. She's been a little demon since she was born. There's no other way to put it, and I can't sugarcoat it. She has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. How she managed to get so many guys to agree to be with her is beyond me. And how she ended up with her fiancé? That will always be the biggest mystery. But I guess I should call him her ex-fiancé now because after what happened, I don't think they'll be getting married or even staying together, which honestly is good for him. He's genuinely a nice guy and deserves better. But unfortunately, my parents are really mad at me because they think their breakup was my fault. The fact that it happened at the wedding embarrassed them, and now they're blaming me for it. So I just want to know if what I did was right or wrong. Let me get into it. My sister Melissa and her fiancé Theo had been together for the past 5 years. Both of them are 25 and had been together since college. I've seen him countless times over the years at family events and holidays. He always struck me as a genuinely nice guy. He's polite to everyone and is the complete opposite of my sister, so I never understood how she managed to be with him. Before him, she only ever dated awful guys, and her relationships never lasted more than 2 or 3 months. She went through nearly 8 boyfriends between the ages of 16 and 20. I'm not trying to shame her for that, she was just a teenager who didn't know what she was doing. But honestly, I didn't think her relationship with Theo would last as long as it did. In fact, I was surprised they celebrated 5 years together, and then he went and proposed to her at an anniversary party he threw for her. I thought she had finally changed for the better and was sincerely committed to this guy, which would have been nice. But after the engagement, I found out certain things from old school friends that didn't sit well with me, mainly because I felt bad for Theo, the poor guy. After the engagement, a couple of my friends told me they'd been hearing a lot of gossip about Melissa and Theo. Most of it didn't paint Melissa in a good light because several people swore that over the past 5 years she had presented herself as single to a lot of people. Apparently, she had even gone on a few dates with some guys from school and matched with people on dating apps. Unfortunately, these were just rumors, and no one had solid evidence to prove it. So I couldn't tell anyone about it because I didn't want people to think I was spreading nasty rumors about her and the family. These things only came up after her engagement because she had posted about it on social media, and due to the supposed rumors from the past, it caused a bit of a stir in our social circles. So I kept my mouth shut and just hoped none of it was true. If it were, the poor guy would really have to suffer. From what I could see, he was truly and deeply in love with her. They got engaged 8 months ago, and since then, I've kept these things to myself. I plan to keep it that way too. But then something happened that changed my mind. I've been dating my boyfriend, Alex, for the past 2 years. Things are getting pretty serious between us, and recently, I've started inviting him to family events. At my age, I'm dating to marry because I really want to settle down and have a family, so my immediate family pretty much knows how serious I am about this guy, including Melissa. Despite our rivalry and how much we hate each other, we're still forced to see each other every weekend for family dinners. My parents have made it very clear that no matter how much bad blood there is between us, we still have to make an effort to at least put on a happy face in front of our relatives. We have to be civil with each other at family events, dinners, and holidays. My dad hasn't been well recently, so he set a rule that we have to gather as a family every weekend for dinner. It's just one day a week for a couple of hours, so we tolerate it. We don't speak to each other, but we do talk to our parents. It's complicated, but we deal with it. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I told my parents that Alex and I are considering getting engaged in a few months shortly after my sister's wedding. That's how serious we are right now. Although we've only been dating for 2 years, I've known him for a long time. We were friends for 2 years before we started dating. So, basically, Melissa knew exactly how much I liked him. Despite that, she decided to flirt with my boyfriend just 1 week before her wedding. This happened last week. My parents were hosting one last dinner for all of us, including Theo and his family, to celebrate the marriage before the wedding finally took place. It was just family and a few close friends. After dinner, I had stepped outside for a walk in the garden to get some fresh air. When I came back into the house, I heard someone speaking in a really flirty tone in the kitchen. That piqued my curiosity, so I decided to peek into the room. To my surprise, I realized it was my boyfriend and my sister in the room. I would have been angry, but it was a strange scene because I could see Melissa had literally cornered Alex. He was standing with his back against the wall, trying to put as much distance as possible between him and Melissa. She was trying to flirt with him, saying that if he ever got bored of me, he knew who to call. I was disgusted and furious, so I pushed the door open and stood in the doorway with my arms crossed, glaring at her and daring her to say something. But she just gave me a smug smile and walked past me as if nothing had happened, even though I knew she was aware that I had heard everything. After she left, Alex came over to me and tried to explain that he hadn't done anything, but he didn't even need to convince me because I already knew he hadn't. I trusted him enough and knew from what I saw that he was very uncomfortable with what had been happening. He told me he had gone to the kitchen to grab a bottle of water, but Melissa had followed him inside and closed the door. He had tried to move away from her, but she had blocked the doorway. Then she cornered him and started flirting. The sad part is, this isn't even the first time this has happened. Melissa has tried to seduce my boyfriend several times before, and occasionally, it has even worked. Some of my exes ended up cheating on me with her, and my parents knew about it. But still, they kept forcing us to be around each other. Every time I threatened to cut ties with them, they would start emotionally manipulating me. I didn't want to sever ties with my parents because apart from everything involving Melissa, they had actually been pretty good to me. I wouldn't say Melissa was the golden child either because she also got her fair share of criticism from our parents. But I can't blame them entirely because this is just her being a terrible person, and they have nothing to do with it. Melissa is an adult who makes her own decisions. Instead, my parents were just doing their best to keep this family functioning. However, after what happened last week, I decided that I had had enough. Even now, despite being engaged, if she couldn't keep her hands to herself and still wanted to come after me, she'd have to face the consequences. I knew this wasn't about her and Alex. It was about her and me and her insane need to always one-up me. I had truly had enough at that point. So I decided to tell my mom what was happening because she was the first person I saw after Alex told me what had happened. I pulled her aside, explained the situation, and told her that I had also heard a bunch of other rumors from my friends about Melissa pretending to be single and dating other people, cheating on Theo even after their engagement. She was shocked, and I expected her to tell me to do the right thing. Instead, she told me to let it go for now and literally begged me not to say anything to anyone. I couldn't believe this was happening because I knew that despite everything, my parents were at least people of integrity and would ask me to do the right thing, which would be to stop Theo from marrying Melissa because she clearly wasn't taking their relationship as seriously as he thought she was. But my mom begged me to keep quiet about it and never speak about it. She tried to convince me to put on a happy face for the wedding, and whatever happened afterward would happen. After that conversation with my mom, I lost all hope that this family would ever be normal. Melissa was just a terrible person, And my parents, no matter how much they pretended to be good people and act as if they loved us both equally, were definitely enabling her behavior and doing nothing to stop her from becoming an even worse person. So, after Alex and I left that day, I was really frustrated because I had always believed that my parents would eventually do the right thing. But now it was clearer than ever that, no matter what, they would always put her above everything else. After we got home that day, a few minutes later, Alex gave me some news that finally lifted my spirits. I could finally take matters into my own hands because if my mom wouldn't let me reach out to Theo and tell him the truth, I could just send him the information. Alex told me that he had accidentally started recording a video when Melissa cornered him because he had been on his phone in the kitchen. Apparently his screen didn't turn off when she walked into the room. So somehow, while trying to put it in his pocket, it started recording. Now we had video evidence of her trying to flirt with my boyfriend just 1 week before her wedding. I immediately knew what to do. I wrote out the entire list of nasty rumors about Melissa that I had heard from my friends after her engagement, attached the video to an email, and sent it to Theo. I didn't know exactly what I was expecting to happen after that email, but it definitely wasn't complete silence. The next day, when we woke up, Alex and I were expecting at least a couple of messages from some people, if not from Melissa or my parents. But we got nothing. Our inbox was completely empty, and everyone was going about their lives as if nothing had happened. We waited for a couple of hours, hoping it would come later in the day. But by the afternoon, Alex and I still hadn't heard from anyone, and everything seemed normal. My mom even called me and had a completely normal conversation in the meantime. So Alex and I were forced to accept that maybe Theo had seen the video, read the email, and decided he was going to stay with Melissa and ignore everything we had said. I'm not going to lie, we were both a little disappointed because we had really believed that we might finally get some justice for everything she had done. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way for us at that point, or at least that's what we thought. A week passed, and yesterday, we finally attended their wedding. We were surprised it was even happening, especially after the video we had sent Theo. Everything was going well, and Alex and I were just very confused since nothing had happened at the rehearsal dinner either. They both seemed in love, and he wasn't behaving any differently. He even greeted us the same way, so I had almost started to believe that maybe he hadn't even opened the email at all. I didn't have the heart to tell him to check his inbox since it seemed like the universe didn't want him to know and wanted him to be with Melissa. I wasn't going to interfere or stir up trouble. After sending that email, I had lost all hope. But then, yesterday, while he was standing at the altar, something really strange happened. After Melissa said her vows, it was Theo's turn. Instead of saying his vows, he started talking about a certain email he had received a week ago. Alex and I looked at each other and immediately knew what was about to happen. I wouldn't say we were happy. It was just really strange and confusing for us. Theo went on to read the contents of that email and even played the video over the microphone. Everyone recognized Melissa's voice and Alex's too, so it got a little awkward for us because all eyes turned to us at that moment. After reading the email and playing the video, Theo explained that he had spent a week thinking about what he wanted to do. During this time, he hadn't talked to anyone about what he'd seen. However, afterward, he had spoken to people and shared the rumors mentioned in the email. It turned out that most of those rumors were true. He had even spoken with a few guys from Melissa's school who confirmed, with photos, that she had gone on dates with them during the 5 years she was supposedly with him. At that moment, Theo said he felt it was only fair to leave her because there was nothing left to say. He chose to end things at the altar because after everything, he believed he deserved at least a moment of satisfaction and revenge. After that speech, Theo left. For a few seconds, there was complete silence. Then Melissa went into full panic mode. She became hysterical, and everyone stayed at the venue for a few hours, utterly confused about what to do and whether the wedding would continue. Eventually, in-laws took the microphone and told everyone to stay for lunch since that was the least they could do for the guests who had traveled to attend. Some people stayed for lunch before leaving, but Alex and I left as soon as we could. We could hardly believe what had happened, but we were glad Theo had decided to walk away because honestly, he deserved better. He's a good man and deserves to be with someone who truly loves him, not someone keeping him around as an option. When Alex and I got home, we didn't know what to expect. Late that night, however, my mom finally called me, which I had known would happen. She told me she knew I was the one who sent the email and accused me of being a spiteful person. She said I'd always been jealous of Melissa because she was getting married before me, and that's why I had ruined her wedding. She told me she and my dad were deeply disappointed in me, and said I was just as bad as my sister. She claimed it wasn't just Melissa always trying to outdo me, but I had been trying to do the same to her as well. Maybe that's why we never got along, but regardless, the damage was done. My mom said it would be better if we didn't stay in touch for a while because she had nothing more to say to me. Her words broke my heart. I kept replaying that conversation in my head, trying so hard to defend myself, but I couldn't find the words. I was so hurt by what she said. Right now, I'm wondering if I really am the villain in this story. Alex says I'm not, but he's my boyfriend. Of course, he's going to be on my side. I just want to know if people think I'm wrong for telling my sister's fiancé about how she was trying to cheat on him just a week before the wedding. Update 1. It's been a week since the incident at the wedding, and so far, all I know is that the wedding isn't going to happen. They've broken up. That's what I've heard from a couple of friends. Since then, Melissa has been telling everyone that I'm the reason for the breakup. Even though she was the one cheating the whole time and the one who flirted with my boyfriend just a week before her wedding. I don't understand how this can be my fault, and I'm not going to take the blame for any of it. I can't believe I let my mom manipulate me into thinking this was somehow my fault. After reflecting on the comments from my original post and my own thoughts, I've realized something. Maybe I did try to compete with my sister as much as she did with me, but in the end, nothing justifies what she did. No matter what, I never flirted with any of her boyfriends or did anything to make her miserable. Yes, I competed with her. That's true. But I would never stoop so low as to flirt with her boyfriends for revenge. I would never hurt anyone else in the process. That's beneath me. But evidently, that wasn't beneath her. She's just a serial cheater, and I exposed her. I don't think I need to feel bad about that because I just saved an innocent man from being deceived for the rest of his life. My mom just wanted to pretend everything was fine to preserve the family's reputation, but I don't think our reputation is more important than someone else's feelings. If Theo had married her, they would have ended up divorced, and that would have been much messier than what happened. So I saved everyone a lot of trouble, and if my parents still want to take her side, they're free to do so. I've blocked them. And if they want to contact me, they know where I live. As for Melissa, I don't care how she feels. She doesn't care about anyone else's feelings, and I don't think I need to extend that courtesy to her. I'm glad she's miserable right now. Maybe if she didn't want Theo to leave her, she should have been a better partner to him. I also want to address something. Some people in the comments suggested that maybe I had feelings for Theo, which would explain why I tried so hard to sabotage their relationship and why people are blaming me for everything. Let me be clear. I did sabotage their relationship, but it was more out of concern for Theo than out of hatred for my sister. Even if it were out of spite for my sister, I don't think I did anything wrong. Even if I acted out of spite, it still led to a good outcome for Theo. And just because I wanted something good for him doesn't mean I had feelings for him. I think he's a good person with a kind heart, but that's it. We're not even close friends. So I don't understand why people jump to the conclusion that I had feelings for him. It's just ridiculous. Also, I literally have Alex, who's been with me for the past 2 years. I love him more than anything or anyone in the world, and I want to marry him. I think I made that perfectly clear in my original post as well. So I don't even know how this theory that I had feelings for Theo came about. Anyway, I found it pretty insulting and wanted to clarify that I did what I did because I thought it was the right thing to do. I've put up with so much crap over the years, and I don't think I need to endure any more of it. So I have no regrets about what I did. And if anyone still wants to believe that I did this because I had feelings for Theo, they're free to do so. I know what my intentions were, and I know that what I did was the right thing. Most of the comments are on my side. I don't think I need to explain further. Anyway, Alex and I are happy and content with how things have turned out. My parents don't talk to me anymore, but I don't care because they're always going to take Melissa's side no matter how wrong she is in this situation. It's literally been proven that she's a serial cheater, and they're still siding with her. I don't know how that works. But anyway, I no longer need to try to fix things with them because they made it very clear that I'm not as important to them, and neither is doing the right thing. So whatever, it's a free country, and we're all doing what we want, and I guess that's what we're doing. Update 2. It's been almost 2 weeks since the wedding was called off, and Theo left Melissa, and today I finally heard from him. It was a surprise because I didn't think he'd ever reach out to me to say anything. Honestly, I sabotaged his wedding and was the bearer of bad news, which usually doesn't sit well with people. And we weren't exactly good friends before the incident, so I didn't know what to expect. But I'm really glad he reached out because a couple of hours ago, he sent me an email in response to the one I had sent him 3 weeks ago before his wedding. He told me he hadn't had the chance to thank me before because he was still dealing with his emotions and didn't know what to do. So he had been ignoring me. But now, since everything was out in the open, he felt the need to thank me for caring about him and letting him know. He said he had occasionally had his doubts about Melissa, but had always believed that people were wrong about her since no one had ever had the courage to come forward and give him a clear picture of the situation he was in. Because no one wanted to be the bad guy, but I was the only person who actually came forward and told him the truth so he could make a decision for himself and his relationship. So he thanked me for that. He told me he didn't know exactly why I did what I did and wasn't interested either because he didn't want to know my motives as that would only ruin everything. But he just wanted to thank me and leave it at that, and I think it was a nice thing for him to do. Of course, I still feel bad for him because I knew he was genuinely in love with Melissa. But Alex and I talked about it, and this is better for him in the long run. I hope he finds happiness after this. Update 3. Hi, guys. So this is going to be a short and sweet update. About 3 months ago, I had been posting here and mentioned that I wanted to marry Alex and that we'd been planning to get engaged. Well, it happened 2 days ago. He finally proposed to me, and I said yes. We're getting married. And in a couple of days, we're also going to have an engagement party for ourselves. I haven't invited my parents since they haven't even bothered to reach out to us. And I guess our relationship with them is over now. I posted about my engagement on social media, and they didn't even congratulate me. But all my other relatives did. And they all think I did the right thing back then and that my parents are being awful. So now, I don't expect anything from them anymore. But, hey, at least I'm happy and so is Alex. And that's all I need right now. Update 4. It's been a long time since I gave an update, and now I have 2 in 1 week. Last night was Alex and my engagement party. And some things happened that I want to share with you. I had invited a few relatives and friends and hosted a dinner at home to celebrate the engagement with Alex. But that's not what you're probably wondering about. It's about who showed up last night uninvited. Yep. My parents. They even brought a gift, but that wasn't enough to get past my door. They said they felt bad for not talking to me and really wanted to win their daughter back. However, this wasn't entirely true. Well, partly it was. They did want to win their daughter back, but because they had lost both of them. After a while of trying to convince me, they admitted that they'd had a nasty fight with Melissa. So they had come here to try and fix things with me. I told them it was too late for that because literally months had passed since the incident, and I felt insulted that they were only doing it because they ran out of daughters. But that's what happens when you bet on the losing horse. Not that I'm calling Melissa a horse because those animals certainly don't deserve that. So they left, but not before trying to leave me the gift, which I didn't accept. I didn't see the point in doing so because I didn't want anything from them. As for Melissa, it was pretty weird. Even after everything that happened, she never came to confront me or anything. But it's better that way because honestly, I don't want to see her or have her around right now.